Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Filterless Freestyle Fridays. I'm your host, author Matt D. Talford of Matty's Rap, the show where we rap about things that guys rap about when we're hanging out, and of the multiple award-winning book, From Fear to Faith, The Survivor Story. Or let me slow it down. My wife says I say it too fast sometimes. From Fear to Faith, A Survivor Story, which is a book, a story, a very powerful story that will illustrate for you in very vivid detail how mindset can help you to overcome the most impossible of circumstances. Now that all that's out of the way, what are we talking today? What are we talking about today on this Filterless Freestyle Friday? Today's just going to be some random thoughts. Two things I want to talk about, and then I'm going to shut it down. Number one, I want to talk about hair. And this is sort of a follow-up to the hair video that I dropped a couple days ago. So if you haven't seen that, just look at that quick 2.5 minute video that I dropped talking about the importance of this hair. All right. And then number two, the other thing I'm going to talk about is the MO of a thief. How do they move? How do thieves move? What's key about? Well, you know what? Let's just key in on what I'm going to talk about. All right. So let me jump right into it. Hair. I talked about this hair, and I talked about how this particular hair type is the only type of hair that if you leave it alone, if you just let it grow naturally, if you don't put any chemical in it, any product in it, or anything like that, this hair always grows and orients toward the heavens. All right. Now, I want to follow that up because I think there's something very important, an observation that I made earlier this week. In fact, it was not earlier this week, but it's an observation that I made after I filmed that video, probably a day later. Now, what I've noticed is the ebbs and flows, or the peaks and valleys, when it comes to, and you guys know I don't like this. If you watch my videos or follow me for any time, you know I don't like the term black as a people descriptor. But for sake of the month that we're in right now, I'll go ahead and just say black. All right. I mean, I've been saying it my whole life anyway, but I'm not subscribed to that mindset or that way of thinking anymore. But for the purpose of this video, I'll say it now. There's anyway, back to my point. There have been these peaks and valleys and ebbs and flows with regards to black consciousness in this country that, probably date back to, at least in my own lifetime. I mean, I'm not a child of the civil rights movement, but I am a child of parents who grew up during the civil rights movement. And one of the things that I've noticed just an observation, a revelation that came to me after I did that hair video, is that it seems that black consciousness peaks with hairstyles that are trending toward natural hairstyles and hairstyles where the hair is long. Let's take it back to late 60s, early 70s with the afros. That was a highlight. That was a high point in black consciousness in the history of this country. And then, hey, you know what? People want to get corporate jobs, or they're joining the military, or they're doing different things that require you to cut your hair if you're a guy. Cut that hair down. Or require you to straighten that hair and look presentable if you're a female, black sister, okay? And then what happens, it seems, is that the consciousness starts to dip. The consciousness starts to dip, all right? And then, so the consciousness started dipping in the late 70s, early 80s, early to mid 80s. But then toward the late 80s, early 90s, the hair started getting big again. The hair started being kind of natural. Our sisters were still wearing relaxers and stuff like that. But the interesting thing is that sisters started wearing more hair weaves and extensions and stuff during that period, which allowed the natural hair to grow underneath. And as far as the brothers go, brothers started wearing these high top fades, and you started hearing songs like "To the East, My Brother to the East," and you started hearing conscious music, responsible rap music. Hip hop that wasn't tearing down the community but building it up. And then the hair started getting chopped again. When the hair started getting chopped again, and we started going back to these relaxed styles with the sisters, and not everybody. I mean, I'm not here to tell you all about women's hair, because I don't, I'm not an expert on it. I'm just making observations, and particularly I'm dealing with the men right now. When the hairstyle started going back, and we started seeing dreadlocks and stuff with sisters like Lauryn Hill and them, where they started wearing the hair natural again. And this was around the edge of the edge of that era where people were wearing, the brothers were wearing the high top fades, the cameos as they called them, the Big Daddy Kane haircuts and whatnot. The Kid and Plays of the world. We were seeing that consciousness, and then we started cutting the hair again, and then the consciousness level started going down. And then here we are now, and it stayed down for a while. But now we're starting to see these natural hairstyles come back, and we're also starting to see an increase in the level of consciousness in the black community. So I think that there's a correlation there, and that also speaks to the power of this hair. So take care of this mane, man. Take care of this mane. Samson. The Samson story should resonate with everybody. And first of all, you need to know who the Israelites were, but I'll save that for another time. Samson was told not to cut that hair. As long as he had that hair, he had immense, superhuman, like God-like strength in a human frame strength, all right? As soon as, he started feeling himself and all this, hey, Samson, you're so big and strong. Flattery, flattered him. The Delilah came along. She wasn't telling him nothing. His own countrywomen weren't telling him, but he felt like he was getting something extra or whatever. I don't know. Y'all know the story of Samson and Delilah. Anyway, she tricked the brother into cutting his hair, chopped it, strength went with it, whatever. There's something to be said there, right? There's something to be said, and one of the things that happens in captivity sometimes is first thing that these captors make these captives do is chop that hair. So there's some powers to your hair that you may not even be aware of. So that's all I wanted to say, just as an addendum to the hair video that I did earlier. If you haven't seen it, just scroll through my channel and check it out. It's only about 2 minutes, 20 seconds, whatever. Maybe I'll throw a link in the description below. I don't know. So listen, pay attention to your hair. Take care of your hair. Keep the chemicals out of your hair. Brothers, look, I'm not here to tell you how to wear your hair. If you want to wear it low with a fade, whatever, you want to ball, do what works for you. I'm just here to tell you that there's power in these fibers. I don't know what it is. And maybe I do know what it is. I don't know. But somebody knows what it is. Let me say that. That somebody needs to be you. But anyway, okay, I'm off of that. Now, let me talk about thievery, theft. I know thievery's not really like a word, is it? Let me look that up real quick. Thievery. This is Filterless Freestyle Friday. You're watching with host author Matt D. Talford, author of the award-winning book From Fear to Faith: A Survivor Story. And I'm gonna pause this here in just a minute because this video looks like it's slowing down. I hope it's not. Let me see. Thievery. Thievery actually is a word. It just sounds kind of hip-hop-ish, but thievery, the action of stealing another person's property. All right. So anyway, back to my point here, and then I'm gonna get ready to wrap this up. So, if you grew up in a metropolitan area anywhere in this country, I'm from Long Island, New York, which is not necessarily the one of the 5 boroughs, but I grew up near the mouth of the fish. And if you know what I'm talking about, if the orientation of Long Island, the mouth of the fish is oriented toward the city. All right, so you're getting some of that. You're not getting that full city experience, but you're still getting some of that same city mindset, whatever. Anyway, and everything that comes with it, good and bad. So now, if you grew up in a metropolitan area, or just outside of a metropolitan area, anywhere in this country, back in the day, the 80s or whatever, you know that you did not leave your bike somewhere. You didn't leave your bike in your front yard unattended. You didn't go to the store and just leave your bike up against the wall while you went inside or whatever, or up against the glass while you went inside. You either had one of your friends watching the bikes and y'all took turns going in the store, or you bought a lock and you locked your bike to a lock. You locked your bike to a bike rack. Now, why am I talking about bikes? Because if you didn't secure your bicycle or put a guard on your bicycle, when you came outside, your bike was gone. Now, what happens with that bicycle? One of 2 things happens with that bicycle. Either somebody takes it as their own, and they might paint it. They might paint it just to change the identity up just enough so that you don't recognize it. They might change some of the defining characteristics of it, and so that you don't see that bike and recognize it as yours. Or the other thing they might do is they might turn it around and sell it, or they might just strip it for the parts and say, hey man, you know what? That bike over there got some mag rims. I want some mag rims for my bike. So they steal that bike, take the mag rims off of it, take the frame, hold it and build another bike off of it later, or they would take it and give it to somebody or whatever, or just scrap the parts that they didn't want, whatever. Now, what's important to remember there is that someone who steals something of great value, for them to keep in mind, they didn't have it before. But when they steal something of great value, what they have to do for validation is they have to go and show it off now. Otherwise, I mean, a person who has those means, they don't need to necessarily steal anything of value, because they're like, well, I could get whatever I want. But if it's something they don't have and they want it and they don't see any other way to get it, they might steal it. All right, go to my website, www.mdtalford.com, scroll through my articles and find the one that talks about the 5-step modus operandi, or MO, of the culture vulture, because some of what I'm saying here is wrapped up in that. All right, so now, again, for you to get status now, you got to go show off this thing of value, saying, hey, look what I got, look what I acquired. And then now you're admitted into some circles perhaps that you might not have been in before, or you were probably already in that circle. And this is just further bolstering the idea that you are someone who acquires these things of great value, great wealth. Now, you're going to show that thing off for status and for recognition. But there's one person you're going to make for darn sure, that one person or one group does not see what it is that you're showing off. Who is that, Matt? All right, let me cut the BS. You're going to make sure that everybody sees it, that you want to see it. And furthermore, you're going to make sure that the person that you took that thing from is the one person in the world that's not going to see it. And to help protect yourself, you may change some identifying characteristics of that bicycle. All right? Because if that person from whom you took that bicycle knew saw you with that bicycle, they may not have seen you take it, but they know their bicycle. And if they see it, they're coming for it. That's just life. Or they're going to report you to the authorities or whatever, but they want that bicycle back. So that I wanted to share that story with you to illustrate some history, since this is Black History Month. How do you think you got to be known as black? Like, where in ancient documentation are people who look like you called black? Like, as a people, as a race descriptor. I'm not talking about an individual person who, people like to look at the Song of Solomon in the Bible and say, oh, he said I'm black, but comely or whatever. He was telling you that, hey, the skin darkened him or whatever. I mean, the sun darkened his skin or whatever, which happens when you have melanin, by the way. The longer you're out there, the darker you get. But anyway, and some people darker than others. Some people turn a little more reddish, a little more tan, whatever. But if they got melanin, the skin, if you're certain shades with melanin, your skin's gonna glow. It's gonna get brown like a nice biscuit coming out of the oven or whatever, or a yeast roll or something. And others gonna get a little bit darker, a little bit more chocolatey. But that melanin is dynamic. The more sun exposure you got, the darker you get. The less sun exposure you get, the lighter you get. But you don't ever lose that melanin. It's only to a point. But anyway, let me not get off topic. Let me wrap this thing up on Filterless Freestyle Friday. Notice I didn't say 5 minutes this time because I already knew. Anyway, it started out with 5 minutes, and there's some that are going to be 5 minutes. But anyway, I'm babbling. Let me get off of this thing. All right, there is a people that history rewrote their identification papers. Started calling them black, Negro, colored, Moor. These different things, all right? But if you check the receipts, you're going to notice that these are terms that aren't even 1,000 years old. So who were these people? What were they classified by before then? Were they always called black? Or was some identifying features of what their original identity was changed by somebody who stole their bicycle? I'm not going to answer that question for you. I know the answer. I'm just going to leave you a clue, okay? For those of you Bible heads out there, and I'm not talking to my brothers and sisters in, that are down with the in the Kemetic community. I'm not talking about my brothers and sisters that are my Nubian brothers and sisters. I'm not talking about my brothers and sisters that are into the Kushite history and that sort of thing. I'm talking to a very specific group of people. All right, are you a descendant of the transatlantic slave trade? Are you a descendant of the Aboriginal Americans, the copper-colored Aboriginal Americans? Y'all do your homework, all right? What were you known as prior to being called by those bywords? The clue rests in the 28th chapter of Deuteronomy, for you Bible heads. Now, when you read through the curses that begin at verse 15, verses 1 through 14 are all blessings that if they ever came to fruition, it didn't last very long, because disobedience triggered the line of code for you code heads out there, or the subroutine for you code heads out there. Verse 15, or disobedience triggered the line of code that starts at verse 15. Disobedience triggered the line of code that starts executing at verse 15 of Deuteronomy 28. Now, when you start reading about those curses, or you pick up at verse 15 and read all the way through 68, you can take that and do a comparison against every group of people, nation or no nation, that you've ever learned about through the course of world history studies in K through 12 education, or even in higher learning institutions. Take that and compare it to all the peoples of the world that you learned about, and then ask yourself, how many different groups of people, unique peoples, did that stub of code, verses 15 through 68 of Deuteronomy 28, how many different people did that apply to? I think you'll find your answer. For Filterless Freestyle Fridays, this has been your host, author Matt D. Talford. If you haven't done so already, give this video a thumbs up, and please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you can be notified of when I upload another video. And last but not least, please share this video with a friend or a family member that you think might benefit from it. In the description box below, I'm going to put some links to some other receipts, if you will, some video documentaries done by brothers that have done a lot more homework on this topic than I have, and these are brothers that I've actually learned from as well. So you guys check that stuff out. And listen, I got links to all the books I published at this to this point. I got some more in the works. For those of you that have been asking for a paperback edition of From Fear to Faith: A Survivor Story. No, wait, not From Fear to Faith: A Survivor Story. Sorry, Stuck in an Elevator. Stuck in an Elevator was originally released in ebook only format. It's not. We're not going to be doing a audiobook format of that anytime soon. I'm the author. I usually do my own narration for my books, and I'm not interested in right now. I don't have the time or the right now I'm not going to be doing an audiobook edition of Stuck in an Elevator. But by spring, you will be able to get Stuck in an Elevator in printed format. So for those of you that prefer to hold a book, and I'm one of those people, even though I'm getting more into ebooks, you can get that book in print beginning in the first weekend in March. So that's about it for me today, guys. Thank you again for watching. I appreciate all the support. Tell somebody you love them and mean it. How do you tell them you love them and mean it? You show them. Okay. There's only one way to mean I love you. That's to show somebody. Okay. Show them. Show them through your actions. You can tell somebody you love them all day, but if you're not showing them, those are empty words. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, or whatever day of the week it is that you're watching this. And peace.